Hey, you. Yeah, you. Yeah, the one with the profile picture that looks like this. Well, that was disturbing. Yeah, you. Teenage girls. I want to tell you something. This is not a vampire. If I can act like an old man for a second. Get off of my lawn! I gotta say that ladies, sometimes boys are right. I mean, listen, I grew up in the 90s. You know what my older sister listened to? New Kids on the Block. I hated them. I was like 11 years old. But the fact of the matter is, 2 or 3 years later, when she started to hate them, she admitted I was right. For years now, preteen boys have been doing the same thing. They've been fighting with their sisters or their girlfriends or whatever. The fact that Twilight? That's a fad. And not a very good fad at that. In fact, I would go so far as to say that Twilight has even ruined vampire mythology. That's hard to do because it's been around for hundreds of years. So what does cinematic succubi need? Well, maybe the remake of 1985 cult classic. Fright Night might be exactly what vampires have been looking for to bring themselves back to respectability. This is Real School. For years now, we have had to put up with sensitive, lovesick, toothless, and sometimes sparkly vampires, and we quickly forget that vampires are supposed to be villains. I mean, we're not supposed to cheer for Team Hair Care or Johnny Shirtless. We're supposed to be scared of them. The ironically named Jerry from Fright Night is the first and best predatory vampire in, well, sadly, a long time. It was funny because I was trying to think of the last vampire movie that I really enjoyed, and it was actually, well, Underworld. And that was 2003. And actually, even that is a little Twilight. I mean, if you think about it, there's a war between vampires and werewolves, there's a vampire falls in love with a human, love story, okay, so let's move past that. Well, to get a true vampire film, I had to go all the way back to 1998 and the first Blade. Isn't that sad? I mean, in 1998, what was the average Twilight fan, like 5 years old? But Colin Farrell, in probably the best role I've ever seen him in, certainly my favorite, brings us Jerry, who is a breath of fresh air.
And your girl, Amy, she's ripe. I bet there's a line of guys dying to pluck that. Your mom, too. You don't see it. Maybe you do, but she's putting it out. It's on you to look out for them. You up for that, guy?
But the thing is, he's not a breath of fresh air. He's a breath of really, really old air. I mean, we've forgotten that vampires, they can be sexy and seductive, but for one reason. Because they want to tap your neck like a frat boy at a kegger. So finally we're getting back to the old days, and I mean the really old days, because Jerry, and Colin Farrell in this role, is sexy and seductive, but he's a predator. Who does that remind you of? How about Dracula? That is why the 2011 version of Fright Night's Jerry and Colin Farrell is this episode's For the Win. I didn't think I'd ever say that about Colin Farrell, but here we are. Unfortunately, you do have to put up with a lot of crap to get to the good stuff in Fright Night. In order to get past into the Jerry scenes, you have to put up with Christopher Mintz-Plasse. Christopher Mintz-Plasse, who I've liked in other things. I mean, he was great in Kick-Ass, he was great in Superbad.
McLovin?
Is beyond annoying in Fright Night as Charlie's ex-friend turned nerdy vampire hunter.
You read way too much Twilight.
That's fiction, okay? This is real. He's a real monster, and he's not brooding or lovesick or noble. He's the fucking shark from Jaws. He kills, he feeds, and he doesn't stop until everybody around him is dead. And I seriously am so angry you think I read Twilight.
Maybe this is because he's played the same role over and over and over again. I don't know, but you know what? In this movie, I just couldn't stand him, and I was really hoping we'd get past him as soon as we could. The rest of the cast is solid. Anton Yelchin, who plays young Charlie, is actually really believable in that he's Jerry's equal, that he's going to stand up to this 400-year-old vampire and probably kill him. Toni Collette, once again, she always turns in great solid performances. It's a small role as Mrs. Brewster, but she does a great job. And the Doctor, or David Tennant, certainly probably my favorite Doctor Who, does an amazing job as Peter Vincent, an updated version of Peter Vincent, but still does a great job of paying tribute to the late great Roddy McDowall, who did the original Peter Vincent in the 1985 version.
Say I wanted to kill a vampire.
Yeah, sorry, go on.
Wow, 2 Roddy McDowall references in a row here on Real School. That's gonna be a record. I wasn't really sure what to expect going in to see the updated version. I mean, I had seen the original Fright Night. It was a cult classic, but it was bordering on self-satirical. It was bordering on comedy a lot of the time. And realistically, it's a cult movie because it was a B movie. It wasn't very good. So not knowing much about it, I was actually really surprised to see that during the credits, Marti Noxon wrote the screenplay. So who's Marti Noxon? Well, Marti Noxon is some uber television producer who has made such shows as Buffy the Vampire Slayer. And once in a while, she likes to write. Suddenly, having somebody from Buffy, and I mean a real somebody who's involved in a lot of the productions, a lot of the writing, and really knew the mythology of Buffy, well, it made the movie make more sense. Why did it make more sense? Well, it had that self-satirical edge, that irreverent sense of humor, that old-school vampire lore. I mean, the fact that vampires can't get into a house unless they're invited.
Jane, I need to talk to you.
Just hold on.
Now, your son is harassing me.
Charlie, what is going on?
Listen to me. Whatever he says, he's gonna try to...
Jane, he broke into my house.
Is that true?
Look, I'd rather not take this to the authorities, but I will. I have no choice. He's sick. He's deluded.
Please. Go get the authorities.
And of course, she wrote a real vampire, a predator, not some fancy twinkly boy. Now, I know what you're going to say. Wasn't Angel like Edward before Edward was Edward? Yeah, to an extent, because yes, they were both sensitive, they were both brooding, they were both lovesick and never hurt humans, and they both cared about hair product. But don't forget that being Angel, it wasn't his true face. In fact, he was Angelus. The only reason he was Angel is because he was cursed with a soul. See, Joss Whedon and the whole team of Buffy and Angel, well, they knew that Angel wasn't a real vampire. Angelus was a real vampire. And at the very least, they created a more complex story and a complex character than Edward. So, Fright Night is an earn it for any fan who misses real vampires. I mean, vampires that freaked me out as a kid. I mean, the ones from like Dusk Till Dawn. Those are real monsters. Never mind this Twilight crap. Go see a real vampire. Go see Fright Night. Couple of things though. One, go check out Anthony Breznican's article on exactly what I've been talking about. I mean, basically, I used his article as major influence for today's review. He's a writer for Entertainment Weekly, and he does a great job in summing up what a real vampire is and where the mythology has sadly evolved to. So I will put that link below. Lastly, if you want to check out one of my old videos, which was The Meaning of the Vampire, which really talks about the evolution of the vampire character and what real vampires are all about, it's going to be ironic, but click the Angel DVD set. If you click the box, it will send you to the link for Meaning of the Vampire, Part 1. So go, what are you doing here? You got a lot of things to do. Go read the article. Go see Fright Night. You know what? Go see my old videos, alright? Get out of here. We'll see you next time on Real School.